A second group chat has hit the administration. Chronic texter and US Defense Secretary Pete Hagseth has done it again, this time sending sensitive airstrike information to a Signal group chat with his wife, his brother, and others.
He's doing a great job.
It's been only 1 month since Pete caused possibly one of the most embarrassing political blunders in recent years, accidentally adding a journalist to a Signal group chat where himself and other top-ranking US officials discussed sensitive war plans. They used emojis. It was crazy. Pete, the Pentagon, and the White House have pushed back against the very believable allegations, claiming they are an attempt to sabotage President Trump and Secretary Hegseth. Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell said no classified material was ever shared via Signal. So here are some screenshots of classified information being shared on Signal. Since the new Signal group chat news dropped a couple of days ago, a lot has happened, from claims of sabotage to horrifically embarrassing crash outs. Look at his kids. They are horrified. So what's going on? Will Pete Hagseth lose his job? What are the bigger implications here? And honestly, why the hell is this guy still using Signal? How do you do this twice? Just before US fighter jets launched airstrikes in Yemen last month, Army General Michael Eric Kurilla, the head of the US Central Command, did exactly what a top military leader should. He used a secure government system to send detailed information about the mission to Defense Secretary Pete Hagseth. The information included precise timing for when the jets would take off and strike their targets, the kind of details that definitely should not end up in the wrong hands because they could put the pilots' lives at serious risk. Michael followed protocol, using a secure channel designed for exactly this kind of high-stakes communication. But then Pete apparently thought, why stop at secure systems when I have a perfectly good group chat? I'm gonna just tell my wife about it for some reason. According to 3 different US officials, he took some of that sensitive info and shared it via Signal on his personal phone, like he was texting weekend plans, not military intel. This chain of events, which hadn't seen the light of day until now, is likely to spark fresh questions about how Pete Hagseth handles sensitive information. While Pete and the government insist that none of it was classified, the timeline's not a great look. According to 2 sources, less than 10 minutes passed between Pete getting the secure briefing and then blasting out parts of that info onto 2 separate Signal group chats. One of those chats included cabinet-level officials and their staff, along with, accidentally, the editor of The Atlantic. The second chat was a bit more exclusive. It was Pete's wife, his brother, his lawyer, and some aides. Basically people who didn't need to know this. I can just imagine it, like, hey guys, work's dragging on, gonna strike Yemen soon, LaMayo. What's on for dinner tonight? XOXO, Pete. And just to add another layer to the what were you thinking of it all, NBC News reports that one of Pete's aides had actually warned him before the strikes not to use unsecured apps for sensitive information. So yeah, like in that 10 minutes, somebody was like, don't put it on Signal, and Pete was like, what? Okay. On Tuesday morning, Pete jumped on Fox and Friends, where he used to work, and said,
what was shared over Signal, then and now, however you characterize it, was informal, unclassified coordinations for media coordination and other things. That's what I've said from the beginning.
Again, here's some screenshots of that informal, unclassified media coordination information. Pete was picked for his job by Trump, who tends to put people in positions they don't know anything about. Part of me thinks Trump just thinks it's funny or something. Like, we've got Linda from the WWE over here, supposed to be in charge of education. And then over here, we've got RFK Jr. and his brainworm in charge of health. So it comes as no surprise that many people, and even some Republicans, thought Pete was unqualified for this job. But he's really proving the haters wrong, though. He's really getting them. Now, in wake of Signal Chat 2, Electric Boogaloo, Pete is facing calls for his dismissal, but the president is standing behind him. On Monday at the White House Easter egg roll, an event that I think should be like fun and cute, I think, Trump said,
why do you have confidence?
Because he's doing a great job.
See, everybody's happy with him. No worries, guys. Everything is fine. Pete also used the cute egg hunt to crash out and embarrass his kids. He didn't exactly deny the reports, but he clearly wasn't happy about them, saying heaps of crazy shit. Here's a compilation of some of my favorite moments.
Because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because, you know, this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here, this group right here, full of hoaxsters.
But the main thing that he kept saying was that this whole thing was the work of disgruntled former employees. Disgruntled former employees, you say? Who could they be? This all seems to tie back to 4 senior advisors who suddenly exited the Pentagon last week, and not exactly on their own terms. Former Pentagon spokesperson John Ulyott resigned, then promptly wrote an op-ed declaring the past month at the Pentagon a full-blown meltdown, saying, "It's been a month of total chaos at the Pentagon. From leaks of sensitive operational plans to mass firings, the dysfunction is now a major distraction for the president, who deserves better from his senior leadership." I love that they still have to be nice to Trump in there if they want to get their thing done. It's crazy. Anyway, meanwhile, 3 other advisors, Colin Carroll, Dan Caldwell, and Darren Selnick, were reportedly escorted out of the building and accused of leaking to the media. The twist, though? According to their joint statement on X, no one's actually told them what they're supposed to have leaked. Caldwell and Selnick, by the way, are longtime allies of Pete Hagseth from their days at Concerned Veterans for America, a conservative policy group, which may or may not make this whole thing feel even more like an episode of Pentagon, the reality TV show. Asked about the allegations, Selnick told NPR, "We are discussing next steps," which, depending on how this unfolds, could range from legal action to just logging off for a while. Not everyone in Trump's party is rushing to defend Pete, though. On Monday, Rep. Don Bacon of Nebraska, a retired Air Force general and member of the House Armed Services Committee, became the first sitting Republican in Congress to openly call for Pete to step down. He said, "I had concerns from the get-go because Pete Hagseth didn't have a lot of experience. I like him on Fox, but does he have the experience to lead one of the largest organizations in the world? That's a concern." Translation, great TV guest, maybe not your first pick to run the Pentagon. A former senior official from Trump's first administration, speaking anonymously because, let's be honest, no one wants to be in that group chat, expressed disbelief over Pete's decision to share details about the Yemen strike with, of all people, his wife and his brother, saying, "I can't imagine a scenario where national security officials would see fit to share sensitive details about policy and planning with family members who don't have a need to know. To do it over an unclassified messaging app is even more egregious." But insiders dismissed the idea of Pete getting fired for something he did twice, saying on Monday, the idea something like this would force him out is not reality. The president still supports him. Pete, leaning on the idea that these former employees are leakers who are out to get him, said that evidence from an internal investigation would eventually be handed over to the Justice Department and those people will be prosecuted if necessary. Pete, you are those people. Pete, that was you. Is he okay? So, will Pete Hagseth get fired? It's not looking likely. It's not exactly shocking that a former Fox News anchor isn't treating sensitive national security intel like it actually matters. After all, this is what happens when qualifications take a backseat to loyalty. Trump first-term national security advisor John Bolton said on Monday, "It's what you get when you don't really care about qualifications for jobs like that, when you're not picking people who are experienced, when your major qualification is personal fealty to Donald Trump. That's what he's got in Hegseth. That's why he's sticking with him. But it's not what you need to do the job." In Trump world, everyone serves at the pleasure of the president. And that pleasure can change quickly given Trump's little mood swings. In this administration, job security depends less on competence and more staying in the boss's good graces. Still, cutting Pete loose just 3 months into the role would mean that Trump has to admit he made a mistake, a rare celestial event in the Trumpian universe. This latest controversy is yet another reminder that Trump's political orbit doesn't operate like traditional administrations. In most White Houses, leaking sensitive military intel twice would be a career ender. But in this one, nah, you still totally get to go to the Easter egg hunt thing. It's totally fine. Because in this orbit, the real cardinal sin isn't compromising national security, it's contradicting the man at the center of it all. If Pete Hagseth's shockingly casual approach to national security, the kind that could leave sensitive military conversations wide open to hostile intelligence agencies, if that ever led to a real disaster, even Donald Trump would be forced to act. Emphasis on would. That line hasn't been crossed yet. But if Pete's handling of the Pentagon continues in the same reckless fashion, concerns will only grow about the kind of military advice making its way to the Oval Office. Because at a certain point, it's not just about signal chats and like family group texts, it's about whether the person steering the Department of Defense is actually reading the map or just following some weird vibes. While the White House insists everything is totally under control, the group chats, the screenshots, and the sheer frequency of fuck-up moments suggests otherwise. 2 signal scandals in a month, sensitive military intel sent to family members, a journalist accidentally looped into war planning, and somehow the biggest consequence so far is public embarrassment and some mildly horrified children at an Easter egg roll. So will Pete be held accountable? Probably not. Will he hold himself accountable? I doubt it. Will there be a 3rd signal saga? At this rate, I'ma say yes. Until then, we'll all just keep refreshing our feeds, waiting to see who gets added to the next group chat. I hope it's me. I hope I get thrown in there. I want to see. Wouldn't that be funny if it were me? Hey Pete. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you like and make sure you subscribe. We do 5 videos a week on everything happening all around the world, in the news and on the internet. See you tomorrow.